Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for some mirror matchup action. Terran versus Terran, the Shambler versus Shopkeeper Dog. And in Cosmonarchy, our mirrors are epic. Let's find out how epic on Radium, a map by BittyB. In the bottom left, we have Get in This Lobby Bozo, also known as the Shambler. He is the white Terran. And Shopkeeper Dog is in the top right as the green Terran. So, once again, we get a lovely set of vanilla colors, classic colors, but don't be fooled. Cosmonarchy has over 100 player colors. You could get your favorite one. In fact, I'm pretty sure Shambler gives himself like whites and reds. Maybe whites as Terran, reds as Zerg, something like that. That's what I remember. Different shades of those colors. Since we have so many of them, obviously there's more than just like one white color, right? And then I'm not sure that Shopkeeper Dog picks any sort of colors, but that is how it is. Stockade on the way here for Shopkeeper Dog. I have never seen him open bio in my life, so he must be planning on something interesting for this TVT, and it looks like the Shambler will be doing pretty much the same thing with a stockade of his own, and he's going to go ahead and scout on 9. So the scout here for Dog is probably going to be a little bit later as a result of that. But it'll be interesting to see things going down. If you guys are liking Cosmonarchy so far, or even if you're new to it, but you've got an open mind, I just wanted to remind everybody that we do have a tournament upcoming on the 26th of October. It is open for anybody to sign up. We've got many, many people in there. And every win you get in the upper bracket of that qualifier, which is where we're kicking things off on the 26th, is going to afford you some prize money. While every win in the lower bracket is a little bit worth less money, but still going to give you some prize money. So just figured I'd throw that out there. The overall prize purse is something like $1,500 now when you factor in the gauntlet, the qualifier prize pool and stuff. So we're definitely getting up there in terms of the prize money. And we hope you guys are going to be enjoying it. Now, this Mason is going to scout up here. We obviously have the Shambler knowing that there's a star pad on the way. This is likely going to be some kind of Maverick drop. Meanwhile, Shambler has elected for a second stockade, as opposed to going into any other tech. And this Maverick is just, he's not even going to bother expending stim. He's just going to go ahead and clear the Mason. A Huracan was the first unit for the Shambler. It will need some micro to actually catch up and kill this Mason. That is something that is a requirement. Well, I say that, but Shopkeeper Dog actually decided to allow his Mason to do battle with Ahmed, the name of every Huracan. And yeah, as a result, the Huracan is just fine. It's actually going to be a Wraith first. I think this is pretty smart from Shopkeeper Dog. His opener got scouted fairly early, and so he's going to go for a Wraith because he's expecting there to be anti-drop. I believe his original plan was still going to be Trojan into, that's the drop ship now, Trojan into some sort of bio drop. But instead, we actually have the Shambler responding with a Watchdog, and he's not going to keep any units nearby. So I don't know if they've played against each other previously, and this has been the opener, where it's been a Wraith into something else. We do have the Covenant on the way for the one stockade, and Shopkeeper Dog, he's got a little bit of money in the tank to maybe go for something else, but as of right now, he's not. And it is actually going to be a Covenant for the Shambler as well. So this affords you access to the Eidolon and the Savant. They're two sort of sniper-type units, or ranged action-type units, with the Savant being kind of good at upfront battle, and Eidolon's requiring a little bit more of a front line. Cyprian's going to go ahead and get heckled over here. The Cyprian does lose a battle to Wraith head-on. And, oh, that Maverick could actually catch it, but Shambler was not on the ball with the micro, so didn't end up orb walking in between, and no stutter stepping going on there. Mason actually been dispatched. It's going to see a little bit of a bio move out, but picking that Cyprian is actually a really big deal, because now there's a spread of 5 Mavericks with cliff advantage, going to be able to get that +2 weapon range going downhill. And there's only going to be 2 Cyprians to fight back with that, and a small spattering of Mavericks. So really it's going to come down to whether or not the Huracans can get much action here. Neither a player expanding, no repairs onto that wounded Wraith. As of right now, no healing opportunities either. You need Shamans to automatically repair, air units, and you need, otherwise you're just going to need to use the old-fashioned repair. There is going to be a Ministry put down, a little bit of an awkward position with its SimCity, and that wounded Wraith is completely gobbled up. But hey, the Wraiths did scout what Shambler's army was doing, and now he's got the Eidolons in a place where he can throw them into an anchor. That's going to be a really difficult situation for Shambler to be able to bust. So he's just going to try to be content with trying to expand and maybe use that as his contain there. But we have all of the tools that Shopkeeper Dog needs to break this small force of bio with what he's got already. So an interesting look, because we don't normally see a star pad out of Dog. We don't normally see a stockade out of Dog. So he's electing to play to the meta that has apparently been developed, which is that Terrans like to play bio against each other. Wraith is out here, but it will end up being shot down by the Eidolons. Not able to do too much damage there, but, you know, he scouts that the same tech is happening, and he also saw that the Ministry was under construction as well. I feel like Shambler rallying more units, especially the slow Cyprians, over into this direction is kind of just allowing Dog to eventually kill his army, and then, you know, there's not really much. It's resetting the army a lot in terms of how much is there, right? So another stockade is going to be put down by the Shambler, and of course Dog is behind in terms of the stockade count by comparison, but his Ministry has done a lot sooner, right? And so, depending on how soon he actually uproots this position from the Shambler, he'll actually be able to start mining faster. And look at that, Dog immediately going to a third Ministry. We've seen him do this time and time again. Inching forward with the anchors. You can lift those off, obviously. And he can heart spectators, by the way. We love when spectators get hearted. Yeah, I guess they were probably on, like, some kind of... Yeah, they were on some kind of a voice channel at this point. On our Discord server, we do have people streaming their games a lot. All right, I do think we need to see an Anseal out of Shopkeeper Dog soon to deal with the Eidolons that are coming in. It does provide detection. This might have been before they got buffed in their sight range. But either way, it looks like this anchor is not long for this world. Not going to end up getting repaired in time. A high ground Eidolon definitely going to be more than enough to start sniping a lot of these units. And should even pick that Cyprian. Very nice. Now, this Ministry is going to be lifting off. I don't know that it's necessary. But, you know, Shambler back at home is only making 1 Mason, so I don't think he's actually using his expansion. Yeah, he's been not able to actually do too much there. The Eidolon could have picked that last Cyprian, the one on the ground there, the low ground, but not able to do so. Another Wraith piloting over to the 9 o'clock position will probably end up diving in for a scout. And we've got many more stockades happening, another Ministry, worker transfer happening. Is there going to be a worker transfer from Shopkeeper Dog? Because if not, I'm going to go ahead and say that Shambler with more workers and better allocation of his workers, yeah, he's definitely going to be in that better position. So I wonder if Dog, like, cut workers at some point. I know he didn't lose any. I guess he lost 1 over here, but I don't think he did also send out a scout at some point. That kind of accounts for, like, 2 of the worker diff. But there's a higher worker diff than that, right? And they've had the same worker queue the whole time. So it's kind of interesting. He's actually going to go ahead and land this secondary Ministry here, put down a lodestone, which provides detection even after he lifts the Ministry up, and also is going to be something that he can use to make additional Masons directly on site, and then he can lift off and go to, you know, 12 o'clock or the 3rd or whatever. I love that there's apparently people shit-talking Shambler while he's trying to play. Do we have observers? Yeah, it's just Sparty Cakes in here. Pretty good stuff. So going up to, what is this, 7 stockades, it looks like, for Shopkeeper Dog. I think it's that's actually more than what Shambler has. He is making his own 3rd Ministry. It's kind of interesting. I suspect he probably just knows that that's how Dog plays, but it's kind of interesting that they are both going for the fast 3 bases. Shambler is going to go ahead and try to move across the middle of the map. We don't see it actually happening just yet, but another Wraith ended up going down. No big surprise there. For those who were wondering how the cloak mechanics work, Wraiths and Eidolons have proximity cloaking. So when you are within range of an enemy unit, and that range is something like 3 or 4 range, it does forcibly decloak you. And so we're not really getting a demonstration of that with the Eidolons here because they're not getting close enough to that anchor. But... you know, Shambler does snipe it, denying any further vision. You know, it's just like an empty anchor that wasn't actually being used for anything, and so it was airlifted for the purpose of scouting around. We still don't have an Anseal to reveal those Eidolons, but I think he's relying on the lodestone for the time being. It does have pretty good sight range, so not a bad shout there. 3rd base already getting gas saturated here by the Shambler, so he should have tempo when it comes to the macro. Tarakkans are getting peppered out a little bit here. Kind of like a... This is an interesting situation where we have Shopkeeper Dog going for Haraka and Eidolon, and Shambler is going for a bit more of a mixed army, but his units are getting sniped a lot more. And now the Ahmeds are descending, absolutely lighting these Eidolons on fire. A little bit of a stutter step doesn't hurt nobody, except obviously Shambler is... It looks like he canceled his attack a little bit too fast there, so now he's just going to see if he can get out of dodge. Harakans are slightly faster, but they do need to be sort of... Just like when they're fighting workers, you need your melee or melee range units to get there a little bit faster than that. More stockades being handled over here by the Shambler at his 3rd base, no less. He's got a lot of empty room in his main that he theoretically could do. Only one of those Eidolons ends up getting caught along the way, it looks like, so that feels like Shopkeeper Dog could have maybe been doing a little bit better there at the micro, but he was busy transferring over to 12, like I mentioned. He is still behind, economically speaking, down 6 workers, but most importantly, hasn't been harvesting Vespene this whole time and is not actually worker transferring to that third base. So the worker transfers and, of course, the extra fast saturation of the gas is definitely going to help the Shambler with his quest to build more Eidolons, to get more tech in general, and pretty soon he will actually be able to afford an Atlas as well. Dropping a star pad of his own over here at the third base. I'm sure Nebulime is watching this and going, what the hell, why are you building so much stuff at your third? That could be attacked by a bunch of Harakans and Eidolons. And you know what, Nebulime, you took the words right out of my mouth, even though I am you. I don't think that star pad is actually going to end up getting finished over here. We'll see if Shambler even has the sense to cancel. It doesn't look like it. Meanwhile, there is a bit of a move out over here with his Eidolons starting to get heckled by the remaining units coming out from Shopkeeper Dog. And he's going to go ahead and try to dive onto the natural. Meanwhile, his Eidolons over here are getting completely sniped, courtesy of the Harakan decloaking them. That's the mechanism that I was talking about there. The lodestone does end up falling. Battle workers are deployed, but the Eidolon for Shopkeeper Dog does get sniped. So there's not really going to be any consistent anti-range, anti-material going on there. And Shopkeeper Dog isn't really focused on the couple Eidolons that have been coming out of a rally right now. So many workers are being massacred on both sides, but it looks like the Shambler is actually getting the better of this engagement right now, because even though he's losing stuff at his third, the Eidolon hit squad over here is being picked apart just by a couple of straggler units that are coming out here. Shambler is about to take a decisive hold over the game, it looks like. He can just go ahead and float this ministry into the Eidolons to reveal them. It looks like that's exactly what he was trying to do, and Shambler recognizes that that's exactly what could happen here, is actually going to go ahead and evacuate most of his Eidolons. Now coming back up with 4 wounded ones, and look at this, Shambler can come on his way out and start heckling the worker count over here. This is absolutely brutal. I think Shambler has definitely done better overall than what Shopkeeper Dog was planning on doing. You can see him trying to use the workers to isolate and cut off these snipers before they can get out. Only one of them remaining alive, and you know what? He's even taken care of as well. But the massacre of workers cannot be overstated. We now have the Shambler almost doubling the worker count of his opponent. He did not lose his ministry, so he still is mining at the third base. And Shopkeeper Dog probably knows that his time is running short. He's not even making Masons at this point. He's well, I tell a lie. He is actually making Masons. He just started up. Adding a starport. He does have the tech advantage. So I suppose that there is that. He needs to start taking some very cost-efficient trades, and I'm not really sure what his mechanism for doing that is going to be. He does end up sniping all of the non-Eidolons in that squad. He's trying to get close enough to decloak, the Eidolons with his Eidolons. I don't think that that's a winning proposition. You definitely want the Harakans to be able to do that, or maybe even just get some Stim Mavericks and run them up on there just to throw bodies at the problem. Again, he has the tech to go for an Anseal, but he didn't want to spend the Vespene on it because he was already spending Vespene on very expensive units like the Eidolon, right? It's a lot of Vespene. So it makes a lot of sense to me, but a fourth base now coming up online here for the Shambler as he finishes that ministry, immediately lifts it off to 9 o'clock. That tells me that we are going to see some pretty larger scale armies from the Shambler. A Trojan being made is going to be dropped. It looks like the starport is going to finish. He's going for Gorgons. Okay, I thought he was going to end up dropping the Commandment add-on to go for a Seraph. I do feel like that would work out really nicely in this situation. Ministry on the way for the 5th base eventually for the Shambler. Stuff that Shopkeeper Dog can't really think too well of. Oh, he's actually finishing up one down here to go to 6 o'clock, it looks like. Yeah, Shopkeeper Dog is going to be a while before he takes extra bases, I think. He's really on damage control right now. He's caught back up a little bit in terms of workers. Still down 30, right? But the ratio of them is a little bit less bad. Almost saturated the extra base. The one thing about taking 12 o'clock instead of taking your traditional third is that you don't have access to the ridge. So that's less gas yield anyway. And again, he was slow to take his third base relative to Shambler. So I think a lot of the fate of this game does come back to that. Now, we do have an 8 Harakan drop. It's earmarked for in the middle over here, and he's going to go ahead and fly over this base. He can definitely choose to go ahead and drop it, but it doesn't look like either player has actually noticed as the Harakan makes its way through. The Harakan drop makes its way through. There is going to be an Atlas. Oh, this could be a great opportunity for a pick. That's just going to be if, Shopkeeper Dog ends up focusing it down and getting a cancel out of it. So Masons are going to go ahead and be toasted. Meanwhile, the army for Shambler is starting to get run down over here, courtesy of the Harakans making it through the windy labyrinth of Radium. And going after the workers, I mean, it's not a terrible idea. Shambler really has not responded super well to this. I'm not sure what's up with that. He obviously maybe turned his music up too high. He hasn't noticed all of the pings and the under attack notifications. LMAO. And, his music was up too high. He couldn't hear it, man. And he's going to come in and do that. But the Atlas doesn't get paused or canceled or anything, so that is a bit of a missed opportunity there. But he wiped out a lot of the workers. He's still down, you know, something like 16, 17 workers, but that's way better. That's almost, he's brought the lead down to half of what it was, right? So I definitely think he's taking a little bit more power there. The military that was out on the map is no longer out on the map. And now actually this small squadron of units is just going to get absolutely mincemeated. Another base going to get contested here. So a little bit sloppy play on both sides, but I'd say Shambler kind of just not paying attention to his main base in the middle of that, trying to over micro, I think, a small group of units, rather than just sort of do what he had done before earlier in the game and fall away from it. And look at that, the Ministry even getting sniped. That is from bad to worse here. They don't return from their duty, but their duty is sacred. And look at that, the Eidolons all over here, just absolutely running through the few units that had been revealed. But when the front line goes, the Eidolons need to go too. They're going a different way, of course. Gorgons are in a weird pattern over here, but, you know, all's well that ends well, as I guess he's going to mass up that fleet and try to maybe hit like 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock actually does not have any harvesting going on in there, and that does make Deputy Dad very angry, as you may be able to hear the siren in the background. I don't know, this is kind of interesting because the players are about to run their units around each other. Nothing in the top left for Shambler to actually hit. And I feel like as he's gonna hit 12 o'clock, there's not really any units to contest that. So I think we're right back into where we were before. Neither player really maintaining super good vision on the map. They don't have vultures or anything for laying mines or keeping track of enemy positions. And so instead, they're kind of just going into each other's defenses or lack thereof. And now Shopkeeper Dog is making peace with losing 12 o'clock. He's pulled most of the workers out, and he's done a pretty good contested job of clearing out a lot of this very vital tech, including mantles that aren't finished, including the captaincy, some stockades as well. And, you know, Shambler doesn't really have what it takes to deal with that right this moment. Gorgons are out, but they will be brought down by the Eidolons with sustained fire. However, those Eidolons are providing a little bit of decloak, right? That's not a terrible idea with some of these Eidolons in the back for Shopkeeper Dog able to do a little bit better at clearing that out. Unfortunately for him, he is A-moving a little bit into that position. But yeah, I think this is a very deadly Eidolon hit squad, and it doesn't really look like Shopkeeper Dog has the ability to uproot it in an even way. He's even lost most of his Eidolons on the attack force. So as much as Shopkeeper Dog was trying to equalize the situation, he is still very much behind. He was not successful in holding this without too many losses. He's lost his 12 o'clock. He does have a third base up and running. Mind the bitty tile. And obviously one of the other things we're thinking about here is the fact that, yeah, sure, he shut down this base, but it's back online. He didn't really do critical damage to this infrastructure. He didn't kill the captaincy, so Tier 2 is still technically active here for the Shambler. The mantle is destroyed, so there is that. But 2 more of them are being produced further away from the third base. And Dog has another military force, but I don't think that it can overpower what Shambler has, unless he takes some really efficient fights, again, or maybe around this 9 o'clock position. Trying to saturate up that base, but he's down by almost 50 workers. So I think that really says it all. A treasury being made. Not sure what its purpose will exactly be. Double starport production over here for our homeboy, the Dog. And we've got an Apostle to steal your Hurricanes, although it will easily be sniped if it's cared to be. Yeah, okay, there you go. But look, the Eidolon count is super, super low, and that's definitely not the case here for the Shambler. He does have a single Gorgon harassing the workers over here, so I guess there's that. He's going to force an answer out of the Shambler. Might get a worker. No, it went after the Watchdog. It did kill it, so, you know, that's 100 minerals down the drain, I guess. But, yeah. When you kill a worker, you don't just drain your opponent of 50 minerals. You kill all of the minerals that they would have harvested throughout the whole game. And so I think it would have been better to get a worker there, personally. But, you know, it doesn't matter too much. You're already down by over 50. Damn. Shambler just holding on for dear life after, I would say, a pretty difficult misplay there at the beginning of the game where he ends up losing a lot of his stuff in the main base and also losing an army in the middle of the map. He had a huge military force on his rally point. I would say that's probably been something that I've noticed about the Shambler in general. There's a point where I was talking about how Shopkeeper Dog's army probably wasn't going to be able to do anything just earlier before it ended up getting driven back after a short exchange. And the reason I was thinking that is because I saw the military accounts and I was saying, oh yeah, Shambler definitely has the advantage. But he only had a small force out here in front of his third and a much larger force on his rally point. And that wasn't the only time that had happened. Treasury going to get shooed away. It might actually be destroyed. And Dog might have to try to fight over it. He's going to go for a Seraph, it looks like, finally, considering the commandment is on the way. No, it looks like Shambler's not going to press the issue on that treasury. But yeah, I think that if he was a little bit more active with his units there, that definitely would have helped out a little bit. Not quite out of range of the Watchdog, so one of the Gorgons is going to be brought down, but at least some of the workers here are going to be heckled. So that's something that Shambler will have to contend with as he moves forward with some Cataphracts and some more Eidolons. No, actually manages to skirt away from disaster with that extra Gorgon. This hit squad moving through once again can definitely bring down that treasury. Shopkeeper Dog going to see if he can maybe find a sweet spot. I would just fly it back over the other way, personally, just to troll him, but, you know, I guess he might want the army to engage here. He doesn't have a good, like, surround situation, but, you know, his 14 Eidolons, his Eidolon count should be comparable, and his Hurakan count's definitely better, right? So, yeah, he's actually got a little bit more than that. He is moving over to try to deal with the air unit, the ground units that are coming in from this right-hand side. And this is an opportunity for, you know, Dog to be flanked upon by the other army, but Shambler is a little bit slow to move on that. Many of the Hurakans have gone down, so I do think that squad that we're seeing moving on the natural at the same time on the minimap is absolutely going to be, I would say, lethal. This is potentially lethal damage right now. So let's see whether Shopkeeper Dog can keep his company open. Otherwise, he might just get liquidated. A couple Hurakans over here. The Seraph is going to start flying into the enemy. Okay, it does get an irradiate down, so there is that, but he does need to watch out. Like, the Seraph will just be focused out. Okay, all right. It's all as well with the world. He even irradiated his own Seraph. Why not? It should survive. But can't say the same for that one Hurakan there. Unfortunate. But yeah, okay. Shopkeeper Dog is still alive. He's still hanging on. He's doing his best. I think this is the kind of game that it's not like the end of the world, right? Like he's lost the Seraph. That was unfortunate. I understand why he stayed in the game the whole time, but the Durandals are out now. They run up directly on top of the Eidolons and decloak them. That is going to be the necessary tool for the job, it looks like. Not quite able to run up and decloak these guys, so that's a little unfortunate for Shambler. He might just get held off just narrowly once again, but they will just recloak now. And yeah, the Eidolons moving into each other is really funny. Well, I think this is pretty much the last stand for Shopkeeper Dog. He's down by 75 workers or more, and he is going to have to call GG as his third base is yet again contested, and he just narrowly doesn't have what it takes to finish the job there. So that is going to do it for this particular cast. We do have Shambler taking the game one advantage. I would say the fact that that game had to take as long as it had to does make me feel like maybe there could have been a faster resolution to that one, purely because of that move in the mid-game, right? We remember Shopkeeper Dog getting a lot more value out of the Hurakan drop than he probably should have, while also missing the opportunity to potentially cancel the Atlas. And I don't know if the Atlas was that instrumental in the end game fight, but it does enable the Mantle, and the Mantle is where the Durandal comes out of, and the Durandal is that, you know, Fire Walker, the flame mech thing that ran up on top of the Eidolons at the end of the day, which I think was mostly just like sealing the fate. I feel like Dog was still going to be behind even if he canceled the Atlas and got all those worker kills. And so, you know, that's still something that he might have been able to try to get done there. But it's more stuff for us to think about when we go on to game number 2, which will be coming out very soon. So stay tuned, stay subscribed, donate to us on Ko-fi if you feel so inclined, and remember that tournament is coming up, and I hope to see you there. GG.